Okay, the much-awaited pictures of Prime Minister Modi at the 153 General Hospital in Leh, meeting with the brave Indian soldiers involved in the clash in the Galwan Valley on the 15th of June. They lost 20 of their comrades. They killed at least 16 Chinese, including the Chinese commanding officer. These are the men who fought bravely and survived. Some of them had critical injuries, but we're happy to tell you that all of them are doing well. They're still recuperating from their injuries, some of them grievous, at the Leh hospital. And today they were called on by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. You just heard that speech. Quick word from the ground. Abhishek Bhalla is with us from Leh, where this visit has just taken place. Abhishek, hugely important visit, perhaps the most important visit that soldiers of the army have received during this operational season. The Prime Minister coming there, spending time with them. He's given them a huge speech earlier, and now meeting with the injured soldiers from the Galwan incident. It doesn't get bigger than this, Abhishek.
Definitely, Shiv, this was a big moment as far as this ongoing tussle was concerned. It's not usual for the Prime Minister of the country to visit, one of the operational areas during an ongoing confrontation like this one. And yes, it's to say that it's a morale booster would be really underplaying the kind of impact that this can have on the soldiers on the ground. That's the feedback that I've got, that, it was a big thing for the Prime Minister to come and address the troops who have been facing this Chinese aggression for more than 2 months now. Also visited the Leh hospital where, these braves of Galwan Valley clash on the June 15 are still recovering. Earlier, when the army chief had come, he too had met them. But this is very, very important. And another thing, Shiv, is that the Prime Minister has now taken a ground brief, a very detailed, unfiltered, uncensored sort of a presentation that was given to him by the commanders when he had that interaction. In one of the pictures we saw, he was being very intently briefed on a map, perhaps. So that clearly shows that, whatever inputs he was getting till now were coming through layers. Here he was interacting with those people who are taking operational as well as tactical decisions.
Okay, very, very important. I want to welcome onto our coverage Lieutenant General Satish Dua, former 15 Corps Commander and Chief of Integrated Defence Staff. Also with us, General Syed Atta Hasnain, former 15 Corps Commander as well. Generals, always an honor, always a pleasure. You're joining me just at the time when the Prime Minister's office has released these visuals, generals, of the Prime Minister meeting with the braves of Galwan. General Hasnain, coming to you first, sir. What do these messages say to what do these images speak? What do they say to you? The injured braves of the Galwan incident, which the country is still digesting. They've been visited by the army chief recently as well. All the commanders have visited them. These men have seen action, and now the Prime Minister is there.
See, Shiv, on one hand, there is Man Ki Baat. There is a messaging on television, etc., which the Prime Minister does from time to time. On occasions, he also motivates the nation. But to be so specific, to go to the war zone, the battle zone virtually, and be with the troops, be with the commanders who are taking all the, as you said, the operational and tactical decisions, to speak to the men on ground, and then to also visit a very fine institution, 151 Base Hospital, which is a center of excellence by itself. And there meet those who were involved in the Galwan clash. I think besides the emotional side of it, there is a huge strategic message which he is sending out. And the fact that this visit was an unannounced visit, in fact, I would have said that if it was an announced visit, perhaps the effect may have got diluted to a very great extent. The fact that it was an unannounced visit, surprise, being there with the men suddenly, and then the nation seeing him there, it actually enhances the overall motivation, the overall confidence of the nation. And the fact that the Chinese side has also responded in a matter of hours also means that they have taken note. Although they have sent all kinds of awkward messages, but they have obviously taken note. So at different levels, this is a huge message which Mr. Modi has sent in a typical, what I would call the Modi way. Because we have seen that he has a way of springing surprises.
Yes.
And these are pleasant surprises. And in this particular case, at a very, very opportune moment, I think he has done just the right thing.
General Dua, your comments on these very, very emotional pictures, sir. And I'm going to play it out for our viewers once again. But before that, your comments, General Dua, of the Prime Minister visiting. You know, just a short while ago, he spoke to troops in the Nemu brigade area. And now he's visiting the very men who've actually faced that Chinese aggression, imposed aggression on them as well, and survived to tell the tale.
General Hasnan has summed it up very nicely. However, you know, our army, more than any other army, gets such a boost in the morale when the leaders go and stand amongst men, amongst the soldiers. When a commanding officer visits the front line, the troops are galvanized. And this is actually an operation in progress. The disengagement process is still on. And at that time, when the leader of the country, let alone the army chief, who has already been there earlier, but leader of the country goes and stands along with the soldier, I think his morale will know no bounds. True, it's a morale booster for entire country. I'll take a line out of what Prime Minister said. He said, "मैं यहाँ आया हूँ," words to this effect, आपको देखने के लिए, आपको छूने के लिए जो मुझे ऊर्जा मिलती है. I think that's the message. If you turn it around, जो सैनिक को ऊर्जा मिलती है. Seeing the Prime Minister there at the battlefield, talking to the Prime Minister talking to those who actually fought that battle at Galwan, and all the comrades, the entire Indian army there will get that urja, will get that energy from the Prime Minister being there. So I suppose to the fact that it raises the morale of the army sky high, there is no talking. There are no two views on that. It is the ultimate. On the other hand, you've spoken, General Hasnan has spoken, the kind of messaging, this one visit, with one stroke, he has ended a lot of debate for and against that has been going on, that has been filling the national discourse for last 2 months. But the message that has gone on to the country, to all, cutting across all lines, also to the entire world at large, that look, we are backing it up with all strong actions that have taken place over the last 2-3 days. Even if they are non-military, the world has supported us. Message to China. General Hasnan brought out, I won't repeat that, how China has reacted. So it shows it has rankled them. And I think this is the time that the whole country must unite as one and cut across all party lines. After this visit, everyone must unite so that every soldier there, last sentence, every soldier, whether in Ladakh or otherwise, should, after this visit, feel that entire 1.2 billion are standing behind me. Thank you.
Very well said, generals, both of you. I mean, this is an incredible, I couldn't have said it better. I don't think anybody else could have. After this visit, India must have only one voice. It can't afford to have two voices now. What General Hasnan and General Dua have basically said is this visit has answered a lot of questions, clarified a lot of doubts, and settled a lot of misconceptions and ambiguities about what India's posture really is. Gaurav Sawant is also with us. He's just back from Leh, Ladakh. I want to first play out for you the full clip. This is a beautiful clip, ladies and gentlemen, of the Prime Minister with India's bravest soldiers. These are the ones who fought the Chinese in the Galwan incident. Take a look.
जिस वीरता के साथ आपने लड़ाई लड़ी और मैंने कुछ दिन पहले भी कहा था कि जो वीर हमें छोड़ के चले गए हैं वे भी ऐसे ही नहीं है। आप सबने मिलकर के करारा जवाब भी दिया। शायद आप घायल है, अस्पताल में है, इसलिए शायद आपको अंदाज नहीं आता होगा, लेकिन 130 करोड़ देशवासी आपके प्रति बहुत ही गौरव अनुभव करते हैं। आपके इस साहस, शौर्य हमारी पूरी नई पीढ़ी को प्रेरणा दे रही है और इसलिए आपका ये पराक्रम, आपका ये शौर्य और आपने जो रक्त बहाया है वो हमारी युवा पीढ़ी को, हमारे देशवासियों को आने वाले लंबे अरसे तक प्रेरणा देता रहेगा। और आज जो विश्व की स्थिति है वहां जब ये मैसेज जाता है कि भारत के वीर जवान ये पराक्रम दिखाते हैं, ऐसी ऐसी शक्तियों के सामने दिखाते हैं, तब तो दुनिया भी जानने को बड़ा इच्छुक रहती है कि नौजवान है कौन, उनका त्याग कितना ऊंचा है, इनका कमिटमेंट कितना बढ़िया है। आज पूरा विश्व आपके पराक्रम का एनालिसिस कर रहा है। मैं आज सिर्फ और सिर्फ आपको प्रणाम करने आया हूं, आपको छू करके, आपको देख करके एक ऊर्जा लेकर के जाऊंगा, एक प्रेरणा लेकर के जा रहा हूं और हमारा भारत आत्मनिर्भर बने, दुनिया की किसी भी ताकत के सामने न कभी झुके हैं न कभी झुकेंगे। और ये बात मैं बोल पा रहा हूं आप जैसे वीर पराक्रमी साथियों के कारण। मैं आपको तो प्रणाम करता हूं, आपको जन्म देने वाली आपकी वीर माताओं को भी प्रणाम करता हूं, शत शत नमन करता हूं माताओं को जिन्होंने आप जैसे वीर योद्धाओं को जन्म दिया है, पाला पोसा है, लालन पालन किया है और देश के लिए दे दिया है। उन माताओं का जितना गौरव करें, उनको जितना सर झुका करके नमन करें, इतना कम है। फिर एक बार साथियों, आप बहुत जल्द ठीक हो जाए, स्वास्थ्य लाभ हो और पुनश्च हरिओम, पुनश्च हरिओम। इसी मिजाज के साथ आओ हम सब मिल करके चल पड़ेंगे।
Gaurav, I want to quickly come to you first on this. You know, you were in Leh recently. You'd had a chance to interact with many of the army personnel there, you know, who've met some of these soldiers. Just take us through the importance of what the Prime Minister has just done. We've just heard very, very important messages from both the generals who are with us. The Prime Minister is back in Delhi now. He spent 7 hours in Ladakh, 26-minute speech to the troops in Nemu. He spent 15 minutes to 20 minutes with the soldiers at the General Hospital in Leh.
And Shiv, every soldier would carry the Prime Minister's message that peace comes from a position of strength. The Prime Minister said so in as many words. He also said, Bharat na kabhi jhuka hai, na jhukega. Very strong words to our soldiers on ground, and this will galvanize our soldiers. So when we talk about galvanizing our soldiers, let's also talk about Galwan, which is a watershed moment in India-China relationship and in India's military response to China. Even in unarmed combat, where you reported very rightly, Shiv, while we lost 20 braves, we returned 16 Chinese bodies, and by some accounts, more than 40 Chinese soldiers were killed or injured, if not more. And that sent a message to China that India wants peace, but that peace that comes from a position of strength. That point has been made by Prime Minister Narendra Modi when he says the resolve of the Indian soldier is higher than the mountains that he protects even as we speak. There is a current standoff. The Chinese are increasing their troop strength along the line of actual control even as they talk about disengaging. So this is the very clear message shift that even goes to China, that India's resolve is that of the soldiers, the Prime Minister and 130 crore Indians together to ensure not an inch of our territory is ceded.
Gaurav, thank you very much. I'm going to let you go because I know you will need to speak to your sources as well on the debrief after the Prime Minister's visit. Zero doubts on India's posture. That's the one thing we can be very clear about. But there are some big questions. India is inspired and fired up. You can imagine how the troops on the ground feel. But let's ask some questions and then we'll get both the generals back in. Question number one, post the Prime Minister's visit. Will the situation escalate or will it actually calm down? Has conflict become a bigger possibility now? Question three, how badly was China caught off guard by this visit? Has the Prime Minister silenced every critic on the China response of the country? And are the decks cleared now for an escalation by either side? You've heard what the Chinese have said. They were caught completely off guard. Let's go back to those beautiful pictures coming in from the hospital in Leh with the Prime Minister meeting those soldiers. General Hasnain, the big question is what next? The Prime Minister has signaled that India is not weak. India wants peace but is not afraid to defend itself. What is the big signal, sir? Could there be conflict ahead?
See, Shiv, my assessment has been very clear right through. China is using its traditional doctrine, which has been known to us for quite some time.
Yeah.
It's a doctrine involving a tremendous amount of messaging through all kinds of methodologies, the ways which they adopt. Galwan was one of them. But at the end of the day, I do feel that the fact that both the nations are still engaged diplomatically and militarily engaged in talks does give me a hope that things may still continue to work out. I think the Chinese have gone back after all that which has happened in Ladakh, and particularly after today's visit by the Prime Minister, and they will sit back and do a complete re-evaluation. They will do a complete review. It may take them some time to do it. But I do assess that this campaigning season now from July to November or so, the Chinese are going to continue to play hot and cold, which a sudden withdrawal, a sudden disengagement, promises to disengage and actually executing them on ground is actually going to show them weak to the world.
Yes.
And that is not something the Chinese will want to actually project to the world. So while not wanting to fight, they will continue to show eyes. They will continue to display or carry out coercion against India. It's a question of our commanders on the ground, our leadership being able to show eyes back to them, and our brave soldiers standing face to face with them. The leadership not wilting. It is not going to wilt, we know it. The nation needs to stand completely united in this, and that will ensure that the Chinese get the message clear. You cannot play this kind of a coercion against India.
General Dua, the Chinese have continued to escalate and India has continued to mobilize in response. What the Prime Minister has done today is settle lots of doubts, erase a lot of ambiguities about what India's posture is. There has been a perception that India surprised China by its response in terms of what happened in Galwan, and China, which is used to, trying to dent strategic confidence and overwhelm with this large mobilization, has perhaps been a little taken back by India's own response. Given all of this, how does the Prime Minister's visit now sort of, what signal does it send to China, sir? Is the single signal that India is now war ready? And if you impose this on us, there will be consequences?
I think the very fact that the Prime Minister goes to the battle scene, so to speak,
yes,
and he says that we will not let anything dent the territorial integrity of our borders, the very fact that statement has been made from the war zone, I think sends the message very clear, loud and clear to the Chinese side that India is not in the mood to relent whatsoever. Like General Snan said, sure, so they will actually have to think again. They'll have to rethink their strategies.
Yeah.
The fact that Prime Minister goes there, and he takes unfiltered sort of briefings at every level, right from a soldier to the corps commander and the army commander, it makes a difference to his own personal understanding and perception. And for instance, we look at the roads. The capability in Ladakh is not only military capability.
Yes.
A very big part of capability is mobilization on borders. And there we've been discussing for last 2 months that we are a little behind China, but we've given a boost, and that is what urged them to start the Galwan in the first place, Galwan fiasco in the first place. So if we give a bigger push to the road infrastructure, which I'm sure will happen, the Prime Minister has already announced.
Yes.
We've recently seen we've ordered fighter aircrafts, or the deals have been clinched on 2 different fighters aircraft coming from Russia, in addition to the Rafales that are coming in end of this month. With all these strong statements being made, I think it's a real show of statement being made by the country. The Prime Minister's one visit it sends a lot of these messages.
Yes.
So how does it play out? I think we are going to see ups and downs.
Yeah.
General Snan brought that out pretty well. Because the disengagement itself is a process that can turn prickly. The disengagement at any cost is going to take the better part of this summer, may even go to the next. And there will be ups and downs. We should be prepared for it. Remember, Galwan incident on the 15th, after the first talks at Lieutenant General level had taken place, was one such monitoring, a patrol that had gone to monitor something, and things turned nasty. So, is there a chance of that happening again? It will call for a lot of adroitness on part of commanders and soldiers in the field and at the senior levels, and we will have to wait and watch. But the message is clear that India is not going to back down, come what may, at every level.
And very sobering message from General Dua that the Galwan incident actually happened during the process of de-escalation. It's a good thing to be reminded that as we try and disengage, things can go out of gear. There can be clashes, but the straight message is India is fully prepared for that. The Prime Minister's words ringing across the line of actual control. India wants peace, but let that never be mistaken for weakness or resolve to defend our territory. China learnt it once on the 15th of June, and if it has to happen again, it will. That is the message that has gone on to China. General Hasnain, General Dua, always a pleasure and an honor to have the both of you here on 5 Live. Thank you so much for joining me, and thank you for your time. Well, General Dua had said he hopes that after this particular visit, there are absolutely no political divisions in the country, and the country speaks only in one voice. Well, sadly, that's wishful thinking.
Hi everyone, Preeti Chaudhary here. Hope you like this video. For latest news and analysis, like and subscribe to the India Today YouTube channel. And don't forget to press the bell icon to stay updated. Thank you for watching.